Hello, and welcome back to the SWAN Pricing Show. I'm Philip Fucic, I'm a pricing mentor.
I am Philip Zolota, the business mentor.
So, today we want to talk about effort and rewarding effort as a guideline for pricing, right? Because I've looked at the video and somebody in the comments said, well, yeah, I feel like my effort doesn't matter, right? So I put in a lot more effort, but it doesn't matter. And I was thinking about that because we often talk about how hourly billing doesn't really work for expertise, what we call the SWAN case, right? As opposed to the duck case, to the usual commoditized services, right? For expertise, we usually talk about the value provided and not effort because it doesn't really matter. It's very hard to measure effort. If you try to measure it in time, that's like measuring design by how many pages it fills. Oh, this is better design. This is 120 pages of design, and this is just 16 pages of design. Right? I mean, you can measure that. Yes. You will get the result. Will that result actually reflect the value? Hell no. Right? So that's the same thing here. Um, so I thought about this. So why don't we take effort into account? And the result that I got out of that, and I'm curious what you think about this, is that we do, just not the individual effort on this project, but the aggregate effort. Because if we discount the idea of talent, and I mean, talent is a popular idea, so some people have a leg up, right? And sure, Mozart is Mozart, but um, mostly when you ask people who are regarded as talented, they usually say, "Yeah, I just practiced 4 times or 10 times more than people usually do."
Mm-hmm.
So um, I would put a pin in that. Let's say disregarding the idea of talent, um, pricing, even expertise, is about effort, but the aggregate total effort that you put into understanding, practicing, uh, um, learning, teaching uh, of a concept of a field of expertise. And because you spent 20 years doing that on other projects, on this projects, you can do everything that needs to be done in like an hour and a half, and it would take me 20 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So my 20 hours are not less valuable because I'm a worse human being whose effort isn't worth as much. It's just that in aggregate, I put in a lot less effort, right, than you did. Um, so it is about effort, but it's not about individual effort spent on this project, right? Because you're a big advocate of pricing on value.
Yeah.
So do you agree with the aggregate effort idea?
Absolutely. It's in parallel. A good comparison can definitely be mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who is taking some professional a mentor to help them guide them in business, you're practically paying and engaging with cumulated effort of that person and previous experience. That is a good example in parallel for this specific comparison. Exactly that. Expertise business, when you're engaging and paying expert, professional, you are paying the knowledge, skill set, experience, and expertise, not the time committed to specific cause working on that one respectable project. And
Yeah.
that is what it's all about. And in terms of concept, yeah, the value is the one that actually counts in that grand scheme of things.
Yeah, it's I likened it I likened it to a relay race as opposed to
Mhm.
straight up sprint.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um So it's a very long relay race, and just because somebody started running in this, part of the relay race and got there twice as fast doesn't mean that they're winning because they're missing like 27 parts of this race before, right? So in aggregate, they're actually way behind, even though it locally, let's say in time, locally seems like they put in a lot more effort,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. So by let's say having invested time, effort into a subject, you now get boosted by inside dividends, let's say in a financial way, right? That you get from the effort you put in the past.
Exactly. And one thing which you triggered now, which I always love to often mention, is the fact when people are mostly in business talking about investments, they're talking about pouring into somewhere some specific amount of money. But investor, for example, is not only the person who is pouring into money, his knowledge and experience also. Sometimes you can pour into the project both things, sometimes only money, sometimes only knowledge. So people don't need, professionals, businesses don't, and individuals don't need to wait for their ideal place where they will be perceived uh, as the investor,
Mhm.
but they can actually invest their knowledge, skill, and experience into any type of project. And as you said, with aggregated experience, gain some additional value, monetize the knowledge, and everything else.
Yes. Um, this is why I usually say it's fair that even if you spent a lot less time than your colleagues usually do in providing value X, you are fully justified in charging just as much or more,
Yeah.
because the value for the client actually um, also includes the cost of time. If they have to work with you on 6 sessions and not two, that's also their time that they're spending, not just money. And if they have to wait for the result longer, that means more risks can materialize in the meantime, right? Um, which means that the bigger value is delivering it sooner, not spending more time. This is the classic example that I like to use is with lawyers. If
Mm-hmm.
a legal problem can be solved in a month as opposed to a year, I mean, yes, the lawyer spent a lot less time on it, but it's actually higher value.
Absolutely, 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 and should be paid accordingly. In the same stands for every expertise business. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't think just this is pretty clear, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And this goes so just to return it back to pricing, um, this goes against the idea that you need to show total and other dedication to a project to get the job, right? Oh yes, you can call me anytime. I will, do any modification. I will do exploration of options until the sun goes down. Um, all of these, utter dedication signs
Mm-hmm.
are actually working against you, right?
Absolutely.
Whereas actually, to inspire respect, you can show dedication to your craft. So, having some custom tools visible around you, that shows that you use them often enough, not for this project, who cares? But you have enough projects and you have had enough projects that you actually can justify just the time and the effort that goes into designing your own tool, right? Um, or an expensive piece of equipment also goes to show something like that. Um, this sometimes also includes your car and your watch, and you would know about that, right? Uh, um, so why do these work? Because they show dedication to the craft. They show that you have been in the craft for long enough for your word to carry some meaning, that you mind deep enough to have a place to draw not initiative, intuition from,
Mhm.
right? Because intuition works if you have something to base it on. You've seen it so many times that your brain just goes, ah, right? um I don't know if you have an example of a moment like that when somebody got that you were deep into your craft, so they actually listened.
Absolutely, and as you said, it's the aggregated experience for the time when you can actually you not necessarily have the all the parameters, but it looks like some specific case which you already managed or handled previously, so you can address it adequately and give some outline or at least guidance towards the resolution of specific case or challenge you have on the table, and it's often happening. Um, Surely in expertise-based work, no matter we are talking about some line of development field, uh, any kind of business consultants, etc., because there is a specific pattern of repetitive and regular cases more often than not. But also you have a specific cases where there is a missing link or missing information, which you can fulfill with previous experience, knowledge, and simply see what will be happening when you implement some specific type of the solution or guidance. Important thing is that you track it, trace it, quantify it. And if you have that line fulfilled, the problems won't be expanding. And that is the fact.
Yeah. And I think this is we usually end up talking about the differences between the swan world and the duck world, right? So the swan pricing and the duck pricing. And I think the differences are that, I mean, you can know your stuff, you can know your merchandise in the duck world, but it accumulates much more slowly, I think, especially after you get the threshold. So you are now a capable trader of green goods or whatever. Um, you will know more than most, and that's like there's a plateau. You can go deeper, but the differences are not that big, especially not for the client. It is for you, so you know how to dodge risks and stuff, but for the client, it's basically the same. Um, in the Swan world, it's not like that. It's just we continuously, by the nature of our work, we continuously develop as we work. We cannot, no job is just a job.
Mm-hmm.
You do it and you get out on the other side exactly the same as you were getting in. I think that's rare, and it's definitely not typical. So it possibly can happen in some cases. That's definitely not something that you need to count on, which means that you now know a lot more than you did 3 years ago, and you in 3 years ago will be a completely different kind of expert than you were 6 years before, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So um, I think so in the duck world, mostly what you look is what am I giving into this project? How many hours? How many planks? How many strokes on the keyboard? So how many characters is what I'm saying, right? On this project. And it doesn't really matter what I did before because it doesn't really affect what I do, right? In the swan world, in the expert world, it does. So the aggregate is what drives the price. The aggregate effort is what drives the price, not the immediate local effort put into this project. So when people say, you probably heard that a million times. Okay, so he's not paying me for the half hour to do this. He's paying me for the 15 years I spent practicing on stuff so I can do this in half an hour. Yes, and yes, more clumsily said, it's about aggregate effort, not local effort,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and I think so. So I don't know if you ever tried relaying this to a client, but I think I have indirectly. I'm going to try out doing it directly and saying, you're rewarding effort, right? Right. Well, you're in luck because I've been rewarded by others for a lot of effort before, which means that you will benefit from all of that effort
Yeah.
and only pay a fraction of the cost of that effort.
Yeah.
That's going to be much more than my localized effort here, but way less than the total of effort that you're actually getting value out of.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And it's a good
lucky
point.
you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
lucky you. It's a great point because but what you can generally see in the expertise based industry, various business mentors, coaches, consultants, you name it, they have a specialty. But through aggregated experience, knowledge, and everything, they have that extra mile, as you mentioned, so they can actually give additional insight and additional value to the system for which they are working, developing, whatever they are doing. And often you'll see that experts who came from their core is from different niches. They're kind of not mixing, but combining all those experiences where they look alike in some way. Surely
Mm-hmm.
there are more experience is in this compared to something else, but still, when you're an experienced guy with aggregated knowledge and everything, you can do as a professional a bunch of stuff. And if you continue to nurture that specific line of activities, you can create, propel, or make some additional venture, invest, reinvest, whatever you want to do. And that is something what you can see, especially sometimes in business. A bunch of people are looking strangely to the person and at the person. Okay, this guy is everywhere. It's not the point that that specific person is everywhere. He has the aggregated knowledge to do this, that, and that, and that, and that, and so on. And
Yeah.
is experienced enough and knowledgeable enough to do all those things.
And so the nature of mastery, I've read books about this,
Mhm.
mostly from a Hungarian guy who a professor that told me everything important that I learned in college about goal setting. I learned from him, Zoltan Barachkai. Anyway,
Mhm.
um, so the nature of mastery is such that once you reach a pretty high level in one, it's actually easier to attain it in some
Right.
field that is connected in some lateral way. It doesn't have to be, from the same tree, but once you know what practicing achieves, then you can, as you said at the beginning, invest in that. Because not only investing in money gives out returns, right?
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
invest into a lot of things and get returns out of it, as long as you don't basically lose time. That's what I'm teaching my kids. We'll see how that turns out. There's still a little, but yes. So I think we're about at the end of this discussion.
Mhm.
Unless you have something else to add.
At this point, no, I think we covered
Okay.
pretty good.
So when you're charging on effort, try to get the client to see that they're benefiting from all of the effort, aggregate effort, not just the local effort, and tell them they're lucky. And tell us
Explain to them they are lucky. Enforce
exactly.
it even
Exactly.
where needed and when needed.
Where can people find you, Philip?
People can find me on LinkedIn and also on my mentorship page, philipzalata.com.
Uh, I've slowed down a little bit on other things. I still publish, but not every day. I think I'll be back soon, but mostly now it's LinkedIn, yes, and fearless-pricing.com. Great to have you once again, and see you next week.
See you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.